that if you have a question for our trainer here, please make sure that you type that either in the chat or the Q&A box. We'll try and answer as many questions as possible in the interest of time after we conclude this presentation for you. All that you have missed so far is me explaining the agenda of this particular webinar. So without further ado, let's quickly move on to the next slide where we have prepared a small activity for you. This activity is called word search. All I expect from each of you listening to me at the moment is to type first 3 words that you see on your screen. These 3 words will help us identify where you are with your journey of study abroad. So make sure that you type the first 3 words that you see on your screen in the chat box now. All right, so which one of you is going to be the first student to give me 3 words that you can see on the screen? And with that, we have Sakshi who has started typing in. Let's wait for others to quickly type the words in so that I can start reading those words out loud. All right, so we have Sakshi who has mentioned the first word as explore, and that's essentially what we're going to do today. We are here to explore the possibility of both the English proficiency test. We're going to help you identify the differences and similarities between both the tests and to identify which is the right test for you. With that, the next word that I've received is excited. So are we to find out what our experienced trainer Sabina has in store for us. Now, for those of you who have joined late, let me quickly tell you that Sabina happens to be a trainer who's proficient with both the testing format. So you have a lot to learn through the session, and maybe you might have a lot of questions to ask her too. So make sure that you start typing those questions in for us now. All right, moving on to the next word, we have Jairam who says career. So we will be exploring the career opportunities today by helping you identify the language proficiency test. With that, please make sure that you stay tuned with us throughout the length of the presentation to identify how we at Azent can help you with your journey of study abroad. All right, quickly jumping on to the next word, we have Jairam again who says ambition. All right, it's good to be ambitious in life, and that's what we're going to help you with. We're going to help you achieve those dreams that you have set up for yourself, and we're going to talk more in terms of how we at Azent can help you in due course of time. And then we have Varsha, whose 3 words are study, ambition, and career. These 3 words I've already picked in my previous discussion. And then we have Sakshi again, who says career. Can any one of you pick a new word for me? A word that I've not touched so far. So we have got students replying career, study, ambition, excited, explore. Can I have a new word now? A word that some of you might have missed. All right. So we have Varsha Sharma here who says journey, and that's what we are going to help you with. We're going to help you embark on this journey of study abroad, and we're going to do that by helping you identify the right test for you. And by test, I mean the English proficiency test. All right. That pretty much covers all the word that we have in the word search activity. So thank you so much to each one of you who mentioned these words and helped us be in an engaging conversation. Now with this, let's quickly move on to the rules of the webinar so that we can start the session for you. Moving on to the next slide, this is a quick reminder to keep typing those questions in for our trainer here. Please make sure that you use either the chat or the Q&A box to do so. We would also be displaying our office location at the end of the presentation, so please make sure that you stay until the very end to find out where we have our experience center and how you can connect with the counselors at Azent and know more about study abroad journey. We also have an app that can help you embark on this journey of study abroad. This app is basically helping you identify the right fit university. All you need to do is download this app free of cost. This app is called Azent Campus. You can see this name on the screen at the moment. The app is named Azent Campus and it's available free of cost for both Android and iOS user. So make sure that you download our app and start your study abroad journey with us today. With that, we're going to move to the presentation. Over to you, Sabina.
Thank you. Thank you, Preeti. All right. So, welcome everybody. My name is Sabina, and like Preeti said, I'll be taking you through the presentation for today. We are going to discuss Ielts versus Toefl. Now, I know a lot of you must have heard about the IELTS exam and the TOEFL exam and how it's required for your study abroad journey, because this is the first step to moving and studying in your dream college. Now, what exactly is TOEFL? So TOEFL stands for Test of English as a Foreign Language. It is very similar to the IELTS exam, however, not exactly the same. So a little more about TOEFL. It's one of the most popular tests among candidates who want to study abroad. It's administered by ETS. It is accepted in more than 11,000 organizations, that is 11,000 places, universities, colleges, um, everything except TOEFL, whether it is the US, Canada, Australia, part of the UK, anywhere in Europe, or even New Zealand. The TOEFL assesses a test taker's English. That means when you sit for this exam, your English is going to be tested, and it's going to be tested on the skills of listening, reading, writing, and speaking. One very important part of the TOEFL exam is that it follows American English, okay, and pronunciation, structure of words, etc., and your sentences are all done the American way. Moving on to IELTS, IELTS exam, International English Language Testing System. This was designed and started by Cambridge, and it's the most popular, whether it is for your work, study, migration, your PR, everywhere, a lot of people ask for your IELTS exam. It is administered by Cambridge, IDP, and the British Council. Again, more than 11,000 organizations trust IELTS as a reliable source and as a very high level English proficiency um, dictator. Okay. Again, this is your language is tested in four skills: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Now, what are the similarities between these two tests? Both the tests are valid for 2 years. The age limit to appear for IELTS is over 16 years. However, TOEFL does not have an age limit. Okay. The format of each test includes reading, writing, listening, and speaking modules. So you will be giving one exam which has test papers for all these four topics or all these four modules. Now, what are the differences between these? Yes, the TOEFL and IELTS are really different. They have got distinguished differences that are important for you to know as a test taker to make the right decision. So, if we look at the time, you will see that the IELTS takes approximately 3 hours. It's a little less than that. However, the TOEFL is a longer test, which takes about 3.5 hours. In the IELTS exam, your reading is for 60 minutes, but in the TOEFL exam, your reading can go anywhere from 54 to 72 minutes. Your writing is for 60 minutes in IELTS, but in the TOEFL exam, your writing is for 50 minutes. Speaking in the IELTS exam is anywhere between 11 to 14 minutes. However, the TOEFL exam has got 17 minutes. Okay. Now, what are the other kind of differences as well? So the IELTS exam can be given in two formats. One is the general and one is the academic version. If you want to give the general version, that is required when you are applying for your PR or when you are migrating to a different country or a work permit. The academic IELTS exam is requested when you need to study abroad in a university, a college, etc. In the TOEFL, you will only have the academic version. However, if you do apply for a job, some employers might ask you to sit for your TOEFL, even though it's academic, they might consider it. But this is on an employer scenario. The IELTS exam can be given to you in the computer-based format or in the paper-based. The TOEFL exam that is conducted is the internet-based exam at the center. They do have a paper-based edition, and they also have an edition where you can do your exam at home on your own computer. You don't need to visit the test center. Now, what are the purposes of these exams? The purpose of IELTS exam is to study abroad, either for your PR or your work permits. Whereas the TOEFL exam is to study abroad, it also works for immigration, work permits, but that is subject to employer. Okay, so if
All right, and with that, the webinar will now resume in 2 minutes. I'm here to remind each one of you to keep typing those questions in for our trainer Sabina here. Any question pertaining to language proficiency test, whether it is IELTS or TOEFL, the test of your choice, make sure that you type those questions in the Q&A or the chat option now and get those questions registered. Now, while I'm here, let me also reveal that we have a small surprise for you. To find out what the surprise is and if you are eligible for it or not, you'll have to wait until the very end of the presentation. All that I can reveal at the moment is that this surprise has something to do with IELTS vocabulary. So make sure that you stick with us until the end to find out your eligibility for the same. I would also launch a small poll now, a poll that will help us identify where you are with your journey of your language proficiency test. In case if you've booked your test already, in case if you've started preparing for it, and what kind of guidance are you needing from us. So on the screen now, you see three simple questions. Make sure that you attempt these questions now and help us get to know you a little better. While you're addressing these questions, let me tell you that we at Azent offer end-to-end admission support and assistance that comes clubbed with IELTS coaching, student visas, and bank loan. And we do all of this and much more through state-of-the-art experience centers that allows students like you take virtual reality tour of university campuses. So should you be in need of a guidance counselor when it comes to study abroad journey, make sure that you drop into the nearest Azent branch today. With that, over to you, Sabina.
all right, should I end the poll quickly?
I'll take care of the board. You please proceed further with the presentation.
All right,
Thank
okay.
you.
So let's look at a little more differences between the IELTS and the TOEFL exam. So your IELTS difficulty level is moderate. That means it's at a medium level. And your TOEFL is the same as well. However, if you are not used to accents, that means if you're not used to the British or the American accent, these exams would get tough for you. Let's look at what result declaration is. That means when will you get your result after appearing for your IELTS exam or after appearing for your TOEFL exam. So for your IELTS exam, you will get your computer-based result within 1 week and your paper-based result within 2 weeks. However, for your TOEFL, you will get your computer-based result within 8 days and your paper-based result within 10 days. The fees are also a bit different for both the exams. The IELTS exam costs 15,500 Indian rupees, whereas the TOEFL exam costs 14,198 Indian rupees. At the time of appearing for your TOEFL exam and at the time of selecting it, you would have to make this payment online. In both the cases, however, in the case of your TOEFL exam, you will be shown a figure that is in dollars, and this is the conversion amount for that figure. Okay, now let's understand a little bit more about the scoring system for your IELTS and TOEFL exam. So your IELTS is scored from a 0 to 9 band score in each and every module and on an overall holistical view. 0 being the lowest and 9 being the highest. You can get anywhere between 0 to 9 and it will differentiate on a 0.5 basis. For example, you might get a whole band score of 6.5 or 6. However, you will not get a 6.1, a 6.2, a 6.3, or a 6.4. Okay. The TOEFL exam is scaled in 4 sections. For each module, you will have 30 marks. So 30 points from 0 to 30, depending on how much you score. And it totals up to 120 points. Each skill has got 4 to 5 proficiency levels, and you will fall in those. Now, Let's look at a little more about the modules in detail. The TOEFL exam in the listening module, you will have 6 audios. This can go to 7 as well. However, the seventh one would be really small. The most audios are always 6, and all the questions are in the multiple choice option. That means you have a question and you get 3 to 4 choices and you select the correct one. You will not be able to look at your questions before the audio is played, and that's the reason you need to take down notes at the time the audio is being played, or you need to remember what you've just heard. The IELTS is a little different from that. In the listening section, you will have 4 audios, no more, no less. You will have questions in the type of multiple choice, fill in the blanks, true or false, not given, maps, etc. They can be diagrams and so on. So there are different types of questions that you will need to answer. Before each audio and after each audio is played, you will get 30 seconds to look at the questions and check your answers. So this gives you time to look at what you need to listen for. The reading in both the cases is 3 passages. However, in the TOEFL exam, it could go to 4 passages, but in your IELTS exam, it would only be 3 passages. You will not get more than that. That means 3 sections for reading. Okay. Um, In the writing, in your TOEFL exam, your first writing task, that means you have to submit 2 writing samples. The first one is known as an integrated writing sample. That means you will first read a passage, then you will hear an audio about the same passage related to the same topic, and you will be required to write in connection to both. Your writing task 2, that is the second writing, is not like that. It's an independent writing. You will be given a question and you need to write an essay on that. And that was about TOEFL. Moving on to IELTS, your writing task 1 and 2, that means both your writing samples are independent. You don't need to read anything, you don't need to listen to anything, you just need to look at your questions and all the information given to you and write. However, in your writing task 1, you will be given graphs or a bar chart, diagrams, etc., which you need to add to the question and write about. So it is a report writing. Moving on to the last module for your IELTS and TOEFL exam, that is your speaking, which is very different in both cases. Your TOEFL speaking exam is conducted at home by your own computer and it is monitored by artificial intelligence. You have to sit in front of your computer. You will have questions popping up. You will read the questions and you will record your answers. There will be no video conference call or video call with any person asking you questions and you speaking. The questions appear on your screen. You look at them, you look at the topic, you look at what they're asking you to talk about and how they're asking you to talk about, and your timer will start and you talk in your mic. As soon as the timer ends, your answer automatically gets saved. The IELTS exam is very different in the speaking aspect. You will be sitting face to face with an examiner and answering questions about what they ask. No matter whether you choose your computer based option or you choose your paper based option, in both the cases in your IELTS exam, you will be face to face with an examiner at the institute or at the center, answering their questions and talking to them. So, now, would you have any doubts about your IELTS or TOEFL exam? I am looking at the Q&A, but I do not see any questions over there. So if you do have any questions that you would like me to answer in regards with the IELTS or the TOEFL exam, do let me know. I'll give you a minute or so to put it there. Ask me anything about the IELTS or TOEFL exam, and I will be able to answer. Put your question in the Q&A section, and I shall help you out with it.
So while we wait for you students to type your questions pertaining to language proficiency test, let us quickly move on to the rest of the presentation, where my colleague Madhuparna will help you identify the course options that we have for you. Madhuparna, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. This is Madhu Parna, and I manage Ielts at Azent. So, first of all, I would like to hear from each one of you. Did you really like the session? You can actually drop it in the chat box. I see a lot of people here. So, we have Ravi, Ria, Sakshi, Varsha, Jairam, Ashok. Did you guys really like the session? Okay, I've started getting responses now. This seems okay. This is a good session. Wonderful, Jairam. What about others? How helpful was it? Sakshi says, yes, she liked it. Ravi is asking, how can I improve